Storms expected with a low of 68. Happy Juneteenth from AM 950. Nightingale is your cozy, comfortable neighborhood bar and restaurant at 26th and Lyndale in Minneapolis. Come in for the famous Nightingale burger or the ginger tamari chicken wings. View their menu or place a takeout order at nightingalempls.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. In the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, and in the nighttime hours in Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW. It is the Matt McNeil Show for your Thursday. Good to have you with us today. A lot to get to. Happy Juneteenth for everyone out there who is celebrating that. We all should be celebrating that. And we all should be celebrating Cliff Schechter, who is kind enough to join us. If you're not on Substack and you're not with his channel, Blue Amp, you're just wrong. Of course, you also have Cliff's Edge over on the mighty YouTube. And he, of course, is here to talk with us today about various issues. Hey, Cliff.
Hey, how are you, man?
Not bad. You were out on Lake Erie. You did a nice little vacation out there. I thought Lake Erie had that algae thing.
Yeah, it has had it, and that's not been a good thing. But this time it was cleared up. So our part at least was fine. And there have been I think it was 2 years ago when we went, because we go up every year with family.
Nice.
And it's just nice and relaxing. It's a great place for the kids. Just one of these chautauquas, if you know what those are, that were set up, to be with the outdoors and all that stuff. In any case, it's great and it's fun and it's whatever. But yeah, 2 years ago, I think it was, the algae was bad. There was none this time around. But we can all thank, those extremists on the right for deregulating and allowing spill off of, poop into the lakes so that the rest of us can swim in that and get that algae that can lead to us having asthma and other things, because deregulation obviously is really smart. And I thank Republicans for that.
Hey, speak for yourself. We're up on the top of the chart here. We're up at Superior. It all flows down from us. So, it's like, I'm sorry.
You're smart. It's like, when I grew up in New York City and we dumped all of our garbage in Staten Island. I mean, I just lost some friends there. I apologize. We're still friends.
Wow. Letters and cards to Cliff. I didn't say that one. I'll say that about Jersey, but I won't say it about Staten Island. There you go.
Well, that was actually a fact. It may have been a not nice one, but they were paid to take garbage.
Wow.
It wasn't, kind of like the Trump administration.
There he is.
Excuse me.
I want to make sure I do say this, because obviously you've been paying attention to the news, what happened up here last Saturday morning in Minneapolis. You did send me, when we talked earlier this week, you had some very nice words of condolence here. This has been hard, man, because I knew Speaker Hortman. I've talked to her multiple times. The idea that you have yet another person who breaks from reality and then has hit lists and is trying to shoot as many Democrats as possible. I'm grateful it wasn't a lot worse, but man, we lost a lot here in Minnesota. That's for sure.
Well, it's horrible. And obviously first, condolences are first to their children, which is horrific. To people like you involved in this business in some way or another, or not involved in this business, who knew them. I mean, it's a nightmare is what it is. But the thing I want to get across, is we're often too kind about these things. This was Republican created, this was Republican produced, or right wing, call it what you will. But you can't sow disinformation and talk about people on the other side of the aisle as inhuman, call them things like rodents and rats. And that's the Nazis did to Jews, by the way, referred to them as rats. They referred in Rwanda to the Tutsis as cockroaches. It's what regimes that want to kill people do. So you can't refer to the other side in that way. You can't have a leader who is violent and says, tells his people to beat people up at rallies and that kind of stuff, has his masked ICE agents throwing senators to the ground, grabbing members, the New York comptroller who's running for mayor. Yeah. We've had numerous cases right now of these things arresting the Newark mayor of New Jersey. So they're showing, by modeling behavior, that they're showing they're crazy people to treat people like crap. And of course, as we also know, they've done everything humanly possible and inhumanly possible to put every dangerous firearm in the hands of every unqualified lunatic. everybody who's mentally unqualified, everybody who's physically unqualified, who should be nowhere near a gun. So when you combine their rhetoric, the rhetoric of violence, the behavior like by Donald Trump at his rallies, and the guns, it's stochastic terrorism. And I mean, Josh Shapiro just had his place burned down, the governor of Pennsylvania, just a few months ago. I mean, these aren't coincidences. These are related because you can predict them. That again, you can't. That's the whole concept of stochastic terrorism. You can't say what will happen, but you can predict a certain number of these things will happen to a certain number of people and places and whatever based upon what they are doing.
I will say, and you're right. No, you keep throwing rocks at beehives, bees are going to start stinging people, and that's kind of the case. And when you're right. There's a lot of people you say this stuff to, and no, they don't go off the cliff and basically start shooting people. They don't do that. But it does when you have a crowd. It does happen. I will say the Minnesota.
When you make firearms readily available and the kinds of firearms that we do in this country, weapons of war, it doesn't have to be a lot of people. I mean, that's the thing. No. If we controlled that aspect of it, it'd be much harder. But we make it easy. You can't get that kind of a weapon in the UK. There was a political assassination there where some guy had to make, you may remember, an MP, and it was horrible. And she did end up dying. And so I'm not saying never, but he had to construct his own gun that maybe was able to fire one bullet or something like that. You just don't have the same thing in other countries as we have here.
You're right. And he was able to purchase all of his guns legally. But then the question should be out there is, when somebody is amassing an arsenal in a fairly short period of time, how is that not, why do we not have alarm bells going off like that? Because especially somebody who's never really might have had one or two guns, but all of a sudden getting 6 or 7. I mean, that should be something that a lot of Republicans in the state, Tim Pawlenty, the former governor here, he came on out and was very much like, no, stop trying to, stop with this rhetoric. That immediate aftermath where the far right social media, smear campaign started, where this was Democrats on Democrats, Walz murdering Hortman, all these things that they put out there. I will say there are a lot of Republicans and a lot of really right-wing Republicans in the state who have basically said, because of the closeness they've had to this whole situation, that this is not going anywhere. And it is.
Can I say that positive, say something nice while not saying something nice at the same time? Something nice is, yes, that is terrific. And that's what we need. Everyone needs in a bipartisan way to condemn violence. Absolutely. Right. Yes. But it shouldn't just be when it's people And if it takes it to be people because I wonder if those same right-wing Republicans, I don't know, I'd have to know them and look at have said similar things that have led to things happening elsewhere. So, I mean, I don't want to even put people's names in the news that don't need to be, but a friend of mine who's a congressman who is not from, Minnesota, had their name on that list. Mm. So, I mean, it strikes pretty close to home for me. Mm-hmm. And again, I saw this again and again when I did a lot of work with Mayor Bloomberg's Everytown for Gun Safety, which I always disclose at some point during these conversations, which is there's always a sign like that. Again, if you're suddenly buying 6,000 bullets, like the guy who showed up in the Joker mask and shut up the movie theater in Aurora, it's a pretty good sign you're going to do something like that. If you're suddenly amassing an arsenal of guns, I also don't know what his history is and don't know how our laws may have because there's usually a misdemeanor type thing where, they ignored it, or there's something where, there's always something there, some sign. I can't think of almost any time where someone came out of nowhere and did something like that. I
will say this guy does seem to be fairly short term, that it was earlier last year, he lost his job, he started going down, and it seems like he went out to his ministry in the Congo, and I mean, it went downhill pretty quick from that. He doesn't have that record. He doesn't have this. But your point about the bullets is such a good one.
But buying a lot of guns or bullets is still a sign. It should be a sign that the FBI or somebody should check in.
Yeah, why isn't that raising a red flag that when someone is buying enough ammunition to outfit a third world military, you should be saying, okay, what's going on here?
Why should you be allowed to buy that much ammunition or weapons? Yeah. I mean, if we're going to be honest here, if we're going to really talk about a Second Amendment that had something to do with well-regulated militias and making sure states could protect themselves because they had no standing armies, and to put down Shays Rebellion and the Whiskey Rebellion and not the made-up BS version of the Second Amendment that Alito and those guys pulled out of thin air that Justice Warren Berger, the conservative Justice Warren Berger, appointed by Nixon, said was the biggest fabrication he'd ever seen in the history of American politics. I mean, again, it's not, it doesn't mean that I don't think people should have a right to gun ownership, but maybe, most of the other countries that allow it, Canada, Scandinavian countries, they also do mental health checks regularly on people that own weapons. That probably could have helped here too.
If you are going to spend either billions of dollars because fentanyl is a problem, because kids are dying of fentanyl, and once again, horrible thing, sure, spend the money to stop that. Or if you're out there saying because people have used fertilizer for bombs, we're going to regulate how much fertilizer you can buy. But yet we look at, once again, the story that was out this morning, I posted, the number one killer of kids in this country is guns.
Right.
And you point that out, and the first thing they say is, well, that's what the founding fathers wanted.
Yeah, sure. They could, the guys that when it took a full minute to reload, their musket, they were thinking of an assault rifle that can take out an entire field. I mean, it's stupid, but also any historian that understands that period and will tell you that they meant nothing. There was no individual right. There never was that. This is made up. And if we wanted to let some folks have that right, sure. But a lot of responsibility can come with that right, as in mental health checks, as in limited purchases, as in full background checks, as in you can't own weapons of war, all these kinds of things that Canada does that has a lot of gun ownership, but does it in a sane way.
Switzerland, tons of gun ownership.
Also,
exactly.
One. Right. The Scandinavian countries also.
Yep. We are going to take a break, and I'll come back. I do want to talk about Iran and that whole thing, but I do want to give you a platform right now because you are what they call hot. You are going crazy. Your Substack.
I'm sweating a little bit. It's hot in here.
Your Substack is going crazy. Your YouTube page as well, just over 120,000 followers there. You got a lot going on there. I want to make sure we drive people to the right sources to get all their Cliff needs.
That's awesome. Do you want me to tell people where to go for Cliff needs? The Substack's pretty straightforward. Blue Amp, so the word blue and amp, as when we amplify blue. Blueamp.co. We don't need the M at the end because we're cooler than that. So blueamp.co. Not really. It was already taken. And then Cliff's Edge. So youtube.com @Cliffs_Edge. Again, if Cliff's Edge had existed, we would have just grabbed that, but I needed an underscore because some other jerk took it first. So @Cliffs_Edge, that's the YouTube.
And you're talking to all sorts of the people. Everyone knows you guys. You got a great guest list, man. You're fantastic.
Well, thank you. Well, I got lucky in. Or I'm stupid. Some combo. You remember, I did a 12-hour live stream to kick off my Substack.
I remember.
And that just, I got some people on. I know. I was delirious by the end, so it was kind of awesome. But Bill Corbett, Minnesota's own Bill Corbett. Minnesota was very well represented by Bill, by you. I feel like I had a third Minnesotan on there. I'm trying to think who it was. In any case, and it just led it just took off. It was amazing. So we're planning another one.
All right.
I'll tell you more about it at some point soon.
Blueamp.co, Cliffs_Edge on YouTube. Cliff Schechter joining us. We'll talk about Iran when we come back. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Rudy Luther Toyota is the dealer you can trust. Go to rudyluthertoyota.com to browse their inventory of new and certified pre-owned vehicles. Style, performance, and reliability. You can find it all at Rudy Luther. With every new and certified pre-owned vehicle, you'll get a Luther Advantage card. Save 10 cents per gallon at the pump and get $6 Works car washes at Holiday Station stores. That's right. You can get a great vehicle and help stretch your budget even further. Rudy Luther Toyota, the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
This summer, the rainbow shines brightest in Loring Park. Join the celebration at Twin Cities Pride 2025, the nation's largest free pride festival and Minnesota's second largest festival after the state fair. It all kicks off Friday, June 27th with Youth Night from 4 to 8. Then the full festival takes over Saturday, June 28th from 10 to 7 and June 29th from 10 to 6. With over 650 vendors, 3 entertainment stages, an expanded youth hideaway featuring the Rainbow Stage, and a brand new bull ride challenge, there's something for everyone at Twin Cities Pride. Explore 4 food courts with 46 vendors, 2 lively beer gardens, and the powerful history pavilion honoring Jean Nicholas Tretter's legacy. Plus, look for special stickers identifying BIPOC and queer-owned vendors, and don't miss the Rainbow Wardrobe, offering free gender-affirming clothing and resources. Getting to Pride is easy with free Metro Transit ride passes. And we'll be broadcasting live all weekend from the AM 950 tent. So let's celebrate, support, and show our pride together at Twin Cities Pride 2025.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. June is here, which means you might be having a graduation party at your house soon. Summer also means sleepovers. Your kids are going to be at the playground, at the water park, at the beach. There's going to be a lot of mess coming into the house over the summer, and you need to call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res to make sure your home is in order for the summer. And since June is here, it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the summer. Zero Res can take care of any surface in your home or business, including carpet, tile, hardwood, rugs, upholstery, and air ducts. This month, take 20% off all services when you call my friends at Zero Res 9520 Res or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com. Just tell them you want the AM 950 special. Their prompt, courteous team will come out and take care of you. Again, that's 20% off all services this month. Go to ZeroResMinnesota.com or call 9520 Res and ask for the AM 950 special. Zero Res, backward or forward, spells the same.
Boldly Challenging Ableism is here to go where some people won't. I'm Katrina Simons, and every week I'm digging into the real impact of ableism, breaking down myths, calling out barriers, and pushing for a world where disabled people belong in every space. With my work at the University of Minnesota's Institute on Community Integration and a lifetime of lived experience, I'm diving into everything from employment and housing to justice and culture. And yeah, I bring some humor and heart along the way. Catch us Sundays at 2 p.m. right here on AM 950, or listen anytime by finding Boldly Challenging Ableism on YouTube or your favorite podcast app.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Cliff Schechter kind enough to join us once again. BlueAmp.co over on Substack, and of course on YouTube. Cliffs_edge is where you can find him. Okay, I'll go with this whole thing. I mean, Trump is clearly being encouraged by Netanyahu to jump in on their side and start bombing Iran. There's even a lot of Republicans are like, wait a second, no, we don't want to do this. First of all, just your thoughts on this whole debacle as he stormed out of the G7 and, simply to basically go down this war hawk path.
Storming out of the G7, I mean, sending out one of these stupid Truth Social things that a child, I mean, I get tired, honestly, of just saying again and again what a toddler he is.
Yes.
And by the way, everybody, he's a 34 count felon. So, we don't remind you of that enough. He's a felon and an adjudicated rapist and an adjudicated stupid person. So there's that too. And for those reasons, of course, no, we can't do this. Now, I want to be very clear with people. The regime in Iran is awful. I mean, they are a handmaid's tale.
Yes.
When we talk about a handmaid's tale, they've put a young woman to death, a young Kurdish woman, for not wearing a hijab properly. They've just, they've just found another woman guilty for speaking out for labor rights. They're going to execute her. They've repressed their own folks. They have a very well-educated populace, and it's younger and is standing up. So I have no sympathy for them at all. And I do think strikes on, if they've got the capability in the EU says this, and NATO, for nuclear weapons, they can't be trusted with them. Because again, they've sent Hezbollah out to destabilize Lebanon, and they've done it with horrific results. They propped up Assad while he's mass murdering his own people. They support Hamas for doing things like invading southern Israel and live streaming, torturing, and attacking women. They're horrific. But a war, we've learned this, I don't know how many times, getting rid of a regime does not solve that problem. It creates a vacuum. B, it creates a lot of damage and ends up killing lots of innocent people. And C, if you have an incompetent president who can't manage basic things, back then, like Katrina, more recently, like COVID, back then, that president who was incompetent made such a mess of Iraq. We're still dealing with the after effects, and the same thing will happen here. So it cannot happen. We cannot be involved in any war that happens there. And in terms of my feelings on what Israel did, I don't think there should be anything done beyond taking out the nuclear facility. Yes, they cannot have nuclear weapons because Iran, what they would do with them is scary. But other than that, no. They've got a vibrant movement there. Encourage them. Get Voice of America. Maybe we should put some money into that again. I don't know. Can you do that, Donald Trump? And let's make sure that we encourage people to support more moderate elements and get rid of these fascists who are, that's what they are. They're like Vladimir Putin, or they're like Orban, or they're like Trump. what Trump wants to be. They're fascists. So let's not pretend they're good guys just because we can't practically take them out.
And by the way, the Voice of America stuff, they rehired all the people they fired for specifically Farsi so that they could talk and broadcast into Iran. So they're
now
trying to fix their
them
problem.
out there until they needed them. I'm sure that'll work. It's just like when they got rid of the folks who were watching Ebola, nukes, the unimportant stuff. I mean, that's why I don't want this guy overseeing a war. He'll get lazy halfway through and go play golf and fall asleep while eating some chicken wings or something. No.
No. Well, there is an interesting question. So what had happened clearly when Obama got them onto the table and they had this nuclear agreement, they had become desperate. I mean, after decades of being basically, financially being cut off, they were desperate and they were there. Trump did basically the worst thing you could do there. They were being submissive at that point.
Yeah.
He basically ripped it up saying, I want to pick a fight with you. And it rekindled this anti-American fervor within the country. I think that he goes into this. He just doesn't seem to understand 92 million people that are in Iran. This is not something you can just basically get rid of the leadership and then think, okay, well, this will be fine. I mean,
it's two and a half times the size of Iraq, and that we couldn't manage that. There's different sectarian conflict there. There's different various groups there. There are Sunnis in Iran. And we know those wars between Sunni and Shia have broken out. I know these are big words for Trump, and he probably didn't look them up. But these are things that if you don't understand, it's kind of like after World War I, in times like, oh yeah, throw them all together into Yugoslavia. I'm sure that'll work out great. No, it doesn't work out great. History has shown that again and again. The right forces need to rise up from within. We can support financially. We can support with our talking about democracy. Hopefully when we get somebody who believes in it back in office. But this guy, again, who can't do anything right, and anything that's not corrupt is not the person for this effort. And hopefully they will liberalize more and they will move, and they needed to be isolated, to be quite honest. And that nuclear agreement was needed. Not because I like Iran, but because we want nuclear non-proliferation. And you tore that up. They started building up their nuclear weapon. I mean, it's inevitable. So, especially after they see what happens, when you see what happened, the part of the chain reaction of Putin's evil in attacking Ukraine is Ukraine gave up their nuclear weapons. We promised them we'd protect them. Yeah, we didn't do such a good job. So
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So Iran, is going to feel like if there's no agreement there, that we're going to come for them if there's not an agreement there. And the pathetic thing is Trump was signaling that maybe he's willing to sign a similar agreement. And of course, he'd brand it differently and pretend it was different. It would be the same exact thing that Obama had. But Netanyahu undermined him. I think that was part of why he bombed when he bombed. So Trump couldn't sign this agreement. So that should just show everybody yet again how, and if Democrats could message better, how weak and pathetic Donald Trump is. He has been attacked by Elon Musk and mocked. He has been attacked now by Tucker Carlson and mocked. He's been attacked by Putin, who's made fun of him. Hell, North Korean TV makes fun of his parades. I mean, he's weak and pathetic, and clearly Netanyahu's not scared of him.
Last thing here, we have our complete and total military is 2 million people. That includes all active duty, reservist, and National Guard. There's 92 million people there. If you have to do a land invasion, those numbers don't add up. You don't have the people to do that. I don't.
That's insane. I mean, I'm saying
that's crazy.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm saying, and you're more of an expert. You served in the military, but I'm saying we should not even be involved in any way. I know we give Israel funds, but we should not be involved in any bombers there or whatever. But forget troops. That's lunacy.
But there are people that are pushing this. There was an interesting question that Trump's poll numbers are dropping, and they're dropping significantly. But people said as long as he stays above water with just Republicans, he will keep doing what he's doing. Will this knock that down, do you think?
It seems like it. Look, I mean, they're, again, I don't think, I always look for, because I'm always suspicious, they're play acting, they're faking, but Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz, which, by the way, can I watch it again and again? I mean, the warm fuzzies of that fight. I mean, Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz, that seemed pretty real, that fight. Candace Owens has come out and attacked them. I'm trying to think who else. Steve Bannon. These are not small voices with no platforms, and a number of members of Congress on the Republican side. So, good, fight each other. And Elon's attacking him over the stupid budget bill. Good, fight each other. I mean, all the better for us.
Better for you, and seriousness, is USDA required daily intake of Cliff Schechter. The Blue Amp channel over on Substack, that's blueamp.co on Substack, Cliffs_Edge on YouTube. Fantastic stuff there. You will get all you need, and you will be smarter. And trust me, he's got great guests. He's got great insight. You want to be following him. He is the one. If I had to pick the top, it's Cliff.
Oh, well,
Cliff.
that's way too nice, and you're probably drunk. But no, seriously, thank you for the compliment. That's awesome.
Cliff Schechter, thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon. We'll take a break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show on your Wednesday or Thursday.
Come on, you know it's true. Work is almost bearable when the Stephanie Miller Show is on. AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Support comes from Hennepin Arts, presenting Hidden Brain Perceptions Tour with Shankar Vedantam. Are there parts of our minds that are hidden from us? This question launched the Hidden Brain podcast 10 years ago. Now host and creator Shankar Vedantam brings 7 key insights from the first decade of Hidden Brain to the stage. Whether you're new to the show or a longtime listener, this evening of science and storytelling will change how you think about yourself. Tickets available at hennepinarts.org.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh, every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. We know dental anxiety and dental phobia are real. We'll take the time to get to know you and give you what you need to be comfortable at all times. We offer free nitrous oxide laughing gas and have high-tech options to help you feel calm and relaxed during your appointments. We'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been going to Shambot Family Dentistry for years. They get me in last minute when I'm in pain and make regular checkups easy and comfortable.
Shamblat Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblatfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
Chanhassen Dinner Theaters brings you its most popular show of all time, Grease. You'll hear all your favorite hits from the Broadway musical and the movie. Join the whole gang at Rydell High. We'll sing, we'll dance, we'll bring you back to high school life in the 50s. Poodle skirts, bobby socks, the soda shop, and drive-in movies. Grease, it'll rock your socks off. Order your tickets today. Visit chanhassendt.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Sunshine today with a high of 87. Then tonight, showers and thunderstorms expected with a low of 68. Happy Juneteenth from AM 950. Nightingale is your cozy, comfortable neighborhood bar and restaurant at 26th and Lindale in Minneapolis. Come in for the famous Nightingale burger or the ginger tamari chicken wings. View their menu or place a takeout order at nightingalempls.com.
Let's make tonight the weekend. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. Got no reason not to celebrate.
Broadcasting in the evenings in Chicago on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk. In the nighttime hours in Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW. And of course in Minneapolis, St. Paul on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It is the Matt McNeil Show on your Thursday. It is a Thursday, 952-946-6205. Cliff Schechter is absolutely spectacular. By the way, a little house cleaning for you. I will be taking some time off. I will be back on the 30th. This is my last live show until the 30th. Well, but we're going to have live shows. We've got a whole bunch of people all set to go here. I'll let you know about that in just a few minutes. But yeah, we've got a whole bunch of live shows that are all set to go. So enjoy that. I was planning on taking some time, but I got to tell you the truth. This last week has been kind of one of those things where I need to take some time. I need to take some time. I found a picture from an event we did at the radio station in 2020, right before the pandemic shut everything down. And it's me and Speaker Hortman. And I saw that, and yeah, I couldn't stop the tears. It's so hard to even wrap my head around all this and the insanity of this entire thing. And I am going to, so yeah, I need to take some time, and I'm looking to kind of decompress a little bit and kind of process a lot of things. So, and I will say this, I think that this is, in this day and age, you need to do that. I mean, regardless of what we, horrific stories or something like this, just the constant stress of this system, it's designed to beat you down, because you can't have a submissive population if the population is not stressed out and angry and frustrated and mad all the time. You can't have an enlightened population. And so this whole concept is just to constantly beat on you, constantly wear you down. And the one thing I can say is there are a lot of things I do to kind of take some time away and kind of and separate. I mean, Chicago, Seattle, my God, I mean, both those cities are amazing. Chicago, I mean, I could go to Chicago. I'm going to be going back to Chicago here actually later on this year. You go to Chicago. I could go there for a month and a half and just start scratching the surface of all the cool things to do in Chicago. Seattle's the same way. I've been to Seattle 5 times in my life, and every time I keep doing something new. There are so many things there. I had big things too I've never done, because there's so many other things to do there. It is just great. I love Seattle, and of course Minneapolis, St. Paul. I mean, I've lived here most of my life, and I'm going to spend my vacation in town doing a lot of cool things, because this town's got so many cool things to do. You need to take a break. And if you are like myself, and I mean, especially with the story of what happened in Minnesota, the stress of what's going to happen in Iran, the stress of what's going on with ICE agents everywhere, I really do want to recommend that you take some time and, take some time for yourself, because that's called mental health, keeping your mind clean. So, I will say, I want to start. I do mention this every time we have Juneteenth. I have been talking about this. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's office requested a passive approach to Juneteenth messaging for the holiday on Thursday, commemorating the end of slavery, according to an email obtained by Rolling Stone. The news was relayed by the Pentagon's Office of the Chief of Public Affairs, which said it was planning to publish Juneteenth-related content online. Per the email, Juneteenth marks the day in 1865 after the Civil War ended, when Union soldiers finally arrived in Galveston Bay, Texas, and announced that the enslaved Americans in the state had been freed. Now, I want to make sure we understand something, because this is always, you have to understand the joy of the freeing of the slaves is predicated and preceded by the fact that the slave owners knew the slaves were freed, knew they were, and did not tell them. They basically, the mentality of the repugnant slave-owning South was to basically say, until the federal government comes to my door and says no longer, they're still my slaves. Now, granted, that was their mentality. When it came down to, is like, if all of a sudden one person was told to release their slaves and the slaves found out about it, and you were trying to still keep slaves, and they found out, oh, we're free. They didn't, that was when they basically, oh, well, I guess you're free now. That sort of thing. But like I said, it is even this day, with the joy that is, with the concept of the releasing of the slaves, it is still masked in this ugliness, and we should talk about it. The entire concept of what Trump and what MAGA represent sometimes is this: the people, when you look back at pictures from the 1950s and 1960s of white people pouring sugar and ketchup on black people that went to a drug counter where they weren't allowed to sit. The people in those photos were stupid, racist 20, 22, 23-year-olds. And they're now older. And all of a sudden, they don't want to admit, oh, that was me. The entire concept of killing of DEI has nothing to do with stopping some sort of outlandish takeover of history. It's about making the people who should feel bad about what they freaking did feel better. It's not about some sort of gender and race neutral mentality. It's about stopping people from having to come to grips with the legacy that they have spent most of their lives hiding. You know, you guys on the right want to treat this all, whether it's the way that the African American has been treated in this country, or the Native American has been treated in this country, or any other minority group, or women, or the LGBTQ community. You want to act as if now that we're in some sort of world where there are more consequences for this, that it was, well, you just cut them off and took a parking spot at the mall, and I apologized. Why aren't you getting over it? Well, first of all, it wasn't just taking a parking spot at the mall. It was slavery. It was the manifest destiny that drove the Native Americans off their lands so that whitey Europeans could take their lands over. It wasn't some sort of minor thing. And that is why you and the MAGA white community has spent as much time as they have out there trying as hard as they can to downplay the horrific nature of what slavery was. They liked it. No, they didn't. They were happy. No, they weren't. They were well cared for. Bull. Yeah, I can't say it. FCC, you know. They want to act as if this was no big deal now that they realize they cannot hide the ugly racism that didn't just exist back in the Civil War or when the 1870s, 1880s, when the military was driving Native Americans off their lands. It exists today. It exists it was definitely existing in large scale back in the 1960s, 1970s, into the 1980s, and it still is out there today. But they want to make it seem like, well, clearly we apologize. And by the way, and that's the other thing. There's number two. One, they want to try to downplay this. Oh, it was not that big of a deal. Screw you. Yes, it was. Second of all, they want to act like, oh, well, we said we were sorry. No, you haven't. This is that broken MAGA Trump thing where if you apologize, they win. The people that are mad at Mike Lee right now, the senator from Utah, who basically pulled down his tweets blaming the shooter as a Democrat in Minnesota. Republicans have already gone out there saying, why did you concede? Because it was factual. But you see, it doesn't matter. They never will apologize because that, for them, first of all, let's just, armchair psychologist for a second. That was Papa telling them. And you can only imagine what predicated in their lives to that point. You don't create this kind of a person without mom and dad having a big old role in it. And of course, that lack of willing to apologize, that apologizing is weakness. Now, that is textbook bullying 101. That is people that know they're horrible people and have screwed up, or that there have been horrible atrocities to other people and they just don't want to acknowledge that, trying to find some way to say, well, if I apologize, that they're right. So no, it wasn't something minor. And no, you never did apologize. And so you looking at the Black community and you looking at the Native American community, the LGBTQ community, women, you looking at the Hispanic community, the Latino community, the Asian community, you want to look at any of these communities and act as if, why aren't you letting bygones be bygones? Why are you so pathetically unable to acknowledge the fact that white America has a lot to still freaking answer for? That's not DEI. That's called facts and history. And because a bunch of racist or racist light whiteys that are in charge of the White House and in charge of this MAGA group are so insistent that this never get talked about, not because they don't think it's bad, because they're racist or they're tolerant of racists. They've gone to war with a fake villain, the truth. Well, the fake villain is DEI. The reality is the truth. I will respect you if you are a 65, 70-year-old person who comes up and says, you know what? You see that photo there of a white person pouring ketchup on a black child as they're trying to get a hamburger at a counter in the South? That was me, and I was wrong. I am sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Bravo. Once again, not exactly the biggest step, but at least you took the step. This whole thing with MAGA, Hegseth, and all these people, they just don't want to take the step and then act like, I have given you 500 miles. No, you're just racists. And your inability to apologize and acknowledge the injustices of this world are really why we all just don't like you. The White House did not respond to the Rolling Stone request for comment. Since the start of Trump's second term, the administration has led a crusade against the concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Hegseth has dutifully carried out Trump's anti-diversity pledge, declaring a handwritten directive posted to Twitter that DEI is dead at the Department of Defense. Those who do not comply will no longer work here. Hegseth banned the Defense Department from using official resources to celebrate heritage months like Black History Month the day before it began. And in late February, a top Hegseth deputy ordered the Pentagon to remove all news and feature articles, photos, and videos that promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. This meant deleting the historical achievements of Black, Latino, and women veterans, shame on you, and occasionally backtracking under scrutiny. The following month, the Defense Department temporarily moved an article highlighting the accomplishments of Jackie Robinson, who served in World War II and was the first Black player in the modern history of Major League Baseball. The Air Force temporarily took down a basic training class featuring videos of the Tuskegee Airmen, known for the first African-American pilots in the U.S. military. This will not stand, Hegseth said, pledging to fix it. Yet the Arlington Cemetery went on to delete a webpage honoring the graves of famous Tuskegee Airmen at the Arlington Cemetery's website page, highlighting notable graves. All references to African-American history, Hispanic American history, and women's history have been deleted. The DEI purge also has come with to content related to Juneteenth. Last year, the Army published an article on its website titled Juneteenth Celebrating Freedom, Honoring Those Who Fought for Equality. The post stated, the Juneteenth is an integral part of Army life. It's time to reflect on the crucial role the Army played in the Emancipation Proclamation and ending segregation in the U.S. The article, which called readers to honor those who fought and sacrificed to ensure the Constitution fulfilled the promise to all Americans, has since been removed from the Army website. The Army website does feature a press release published on Tuesday that commemorates three powerful observances, the 250th anniversary of the Army, Juneteenth, and Independence Day. But any reference to Juneteenth individually has been removed. It's not about correcting a wrong as far as history. It's about basically preventing people from learning history. That's all these MAGA fools are doing. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Cafe Latte offers made-from-scratch soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts. So come check out their pizza and wine bar, or get a treat from the bakery made fresh daily. Plus, you can still do online ordering and takeout, along with gift cards. Just go to cafelatte.com and choose from their ever-changing selection of award-winning salads, sandwiches, and soups. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand and online at cafelatte.com.
This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, weekdays at 5 p.m. On our show, you'll hear about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. Weekly correspondents like Dr. Stately, State Senator Mary Kunesh, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake update us with the latest news from Turtle Island. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Listen weekdays at 5 p.m. or watch the show on Native Roots Radio social media accounts. Ho-wah!
This is Mitch, owner of Junk Masters. Feeling overwhelmed by clutter? Spring's the perfect time to reclaim your space and peace of mind. Renting a dumpster is costly, and it all ends up in the landfill. Just show us what goes. We give usable items a second life by donating them. No calling all over town trying to figure out who takes what. We do the legwork for you. Easy, cost-effective, and local. There's no obligation. Visit junkmastersmn.com today.
While I'm pregnant, I can keep our baby safe by not drinking, smoking, or using drugs. But how are we going to keep her safe after she's born?
When I grow up, I look forward to dancing in powwows, going to college, and being successful. But I don't want to be one out of 3 American Indian women to be raped or sexually assaulted in her lifetime.
As relatives and friends of Native women, it is our responsibility to stand up and speak out for every woman's right to be safe in her home and the community.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about the joy of live fire cooking. Cooking over a live fire is the oldest and most basic form of cooking.
What's new is in the way fire is handled and its heat is managed.
It's easier to experience and enjoy the smell and taste of food cooked over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs live fire grills, fire pits, and ovens. Let us help you experience the smell, the taste, the fun of cooking with fire.
Pizza was first made and is still best made in an open fire oven. The radiant and conductive heat of a live fire is unmatched for wood roasting and baking artisan breads too.
Come see the many ways you can cook over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Good to have you with us here today. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. All right. So, as I get ready to go on vacation for a week plus, one of my last subject being the potential of massive war with Iran. Okay. Now, once again, I want to make sure you understand something about logistics of all this. Iran is 92 million people. You cannot destabilize that government and just hope a good government gets back into power. I'm going to tell you right now one thing that the vast majority of Iranians feel right now. They don't like the United States. So no matter who you put into power is not necessarily going to be, you know, we toppled the Iranian government. Now it's like the government of New Hampshire. No, it's not going to work that way. And sometimes, as we have seen with the Taliban, who remember how atrociously Trump negotiated with them, you even could get worse. As hard as that sometimes can seem to be, you can get worse. It's 92 million people. You cannot bomb them into submission. You just cannot. You're going to have to, at some point, send troops on in. You are going to have to do that. And if you send troops on in, once again, you do the math. 92 million Iranians and our entire contingent of all military personnel, including everyone on ships, Coast Guard, reservists, National Guard, is 2 million. You can't do it. Israel knows they can't do it. That's why they're trying to get the United States to do it. They're hoping Trump is, and I shouldn't say Israel, Netanyahu. Netanyahu is desperately trying to get Trump to do this because this is Netanyahu's big goal. He feels that this will be his legacy. And Trump is dumb enough to do it. Trump has suggested the defense officials would make it sense for the U.S. to launch strikes against Iran, but only if the so-called bunker buster bomb was guaranteed to destroy the critical uranium enrichment facility at Fordo, according to people familiar with the deliberations. Trump was told that dropping the GBU-57S, a 13.6-ton bomb, would effectively eliminate Fordo, but he does not appear to be fully convinced. The people said it has held off authorizing strikes as he also awaits the possibility of the threat of U.S. involvement would lead Iran to talks. The effectiveness of the GBU-57S has been a topic of deep contention at the Pentagon since the start of the Trump term, according to 2 defense officials who were briefed on perhaps only a tactical nuclear weapon could be capable of really getting Fordo because of how deeply it is located. Trump is currently not considering, I think, be grateful for the little things. Trump is not considering using a tactical nuke on Fordo, as the possibility was not presented by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, in meetings at the White House Situation Room. 2 people familiar with the matter said, yeah, it becomes pretty hard to argue that you should not be able to develop your own nuclear program if you're being nuked. So, and they must understand that. It becomes, your whole argument of you can't have nukes, now we're going to nuke you. So the question is whether the bunker buster really would work. Now, I'm going to make a point here. You guys are convinced there is only one really deep base within Iran. There likely are other ones. And now you're giving these guys plenty of time to move stuff out of areas and putting into other areas. Even if the bunker buster worked, would you actually dismantle this program, or have you, as telegraphing your entire strategy on a social media platform, pretty much lost the element of surprise? Seriously, it's just the dumbest freaking timeline sometimes. The Defense Department's officials who received the briefing were told that using conventional bombs, even as part of a wider strike package of several GBU-57Ss, would not penetrate deep enough underground that it would only do enough damage to collapse tunnels and bury it under rubble. It would not necessarily destroy it. The defense officials were also told that to completely destroy Fordo, with Israeli intelligence estimates to go down as far as 300 feet, it would likely require U.S. to first soften the ground with conventional bombs and then ultimately drop a tactical nuke weapon from a B-2 bomber. Wow. The assessments were made by the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, a component of the Defense Department that tested the GBU-57 as it reviewed the limitations of U.S. military ordnance against the number of underground facilities. Yeah, here we are. Well, do we have to nuke them? The White House said that Donald Trump will make a decision on whether to attack Iran within 2 weeks. Speaking to reporters on Thursday, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt cited a message from Trump in which he said, based on the fact that there is a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I'll make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks. Leavitt added that the correspondence has continued with Iran. Has it? Because Donald Trump was up on social media and in talking to the media saying, the time for talk is over. And once again, I get it. You guys want to sit there and say, well, that's just Donald being Donald. There's a reason why Trump stormed out of the G7. Because stupid doesn't play when it comes to world relations. Stupid is Trump. His middle name is Stupid. And Stupid Jr. and Stupid Jr. with Junior and Eric. He's an idiot. And what you're asking is for a dizzy, drunk, methed out, bath salts, hit in the head clown wearing boxing gloves and a complete, hazmat suit to basically do surgery with a scalpel to pull out a tiny thimble size tumor on somebody when he's never done surgery in his life. But hey, he's Donald being Donald. Well, I only hope that by the time I come back, Chicago, Seattle, by the time I come back from my vacation, we're not at full-fledged war. But considering how stupid that man is and his pathetic attempt for validation, something that Benjamin Netanyahu is playing like a fiddle right now, maybe I don't come back from vacation. Have a good one. We'll be back soon. Coming up, hour 2 in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Pride is more than a party. It's a celebration of progress, community, and connection. And this year, you're invited to be a part of it at Twin Cities Pride 2025, happening June 28th and 29th. Whether you've marched in past movements or are showing up as an ally, your presence matters. All weekend long, you can enjoy live music on 3 stages, explore over 650 vendors, and discover community resources. Plus, be sure to stop by the History Pavilion and learn all about Pride's powerful legacy. Support queer and BIPOC-owned businesses, grab a bite from 46 food vendors, and take advantage of free Metro Transit rides to get there. And don't forget, AM 950 will be broadcasting live from our tent all weekend. Stop by and say hi. More than 50 years after the first Pride March, we gather not just to celebrate, but to resist attacks on our queer community. That's Twin Cities Pride, June 28th and 29th.
It's Brad Friedman, your friendly investigative blogger, journalist, and host of the Bradcast on AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. Israel's defense minister threatened Iran's supreme leader after Iranian missiles damaged a hospital in southern Israel today. Residential buildings near Tel Aviv also hit, at least 240 people wounded. Meantime, Ed Donahue has the latest from Washington.
A decision from President Trump on Iran will not be coming soon. The president has been talking about the possibility of joining Israel in strikes against Iran and its nuclear program.
You don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt read a statement from the president.
Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks.
Leavitt was asked why the president thinks there is a substantial chance of negotiations.
I'm not going to get into the reasoning and the rationale the president believes that, but that's his position.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the president will do what's best for America.
The partnership with the United States, the partnership with President Trump, with whom I speak to almost every day, is incredible.
Iran has long maintained its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says he may impose new tariffs on U.S. steel and aluminum on July 21st, depending on the progress of trade talks with President Trump. The president has signed an executive order to keep TikTok running in the U.S. for another 90 days. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says he's providing more time for a deal to bring the social media platform under American ownership.
The political reasoning for this, of course, is because the president made a promise to keep TikTok on. There are 100 million Americans who use this app. It's wildly popular. He also wants to protect Americans' data and privacy concerns on this app, and he believes we can do both things at the same time.
Hurricane Eric's made landfall in western Oaxaca state in Mexico, now a Category 3 storm. This is AP News.
Progressive knows when you're on your boat, you're already on vacation. And Vacation You forgets all your worries. Vacation You doesn't even keep track of time and knows that time is a meaningless construct designed to control us, man. But Regular You knows you don't want to be too far out in the water after the sun goes down because Vacation You doesn't know how to navigate in the dark yet. Vacation You and Regular You really need to get on the same page. So bundle your boat with your home or auto policy and earn an automatic discount from Progressive. And spend the savings on the both of you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Babbel. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at babbel.com/TNC.
With other language learning apps, I was just playing games. I wasn't really learning. Babbel's different.
Babbel was designed by over 200 language learning experts to be the most effective way to learn another language.
Before Babbel, I thought I just wasn't good with languages. But now I'm speaking French. Tout ça, c'est grâce à Babbel.
Save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription when you text radio to 64,000. That's radio to...
The Council on LGBTQIA2S+ Minnesotans is conducting a community needs survey. Two-spirit and Native queer voices are sacred and must be heard. Your experiences will guide programs and policies that support our relatives across Minnesota. The survey is confidential and available at mnqt.info/survey. The May 31st deadline has been extended through June. Celebrate Pride Month and honor your story by participating.
Think your company's safe? Your staff is working from home, right? As I speak, cyber criminals are mounting attacks across the country. Remember, when we're weakest, cyber criminals attack. Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Sunshine today with a high of 87. Then tonight, showers and thunderstorms expected with a low of 68. Happy Juneteenth from AM 950. Nightingale is your cozy, comfortable neighborhood bar and restaurant at 26th and Lindale in Minneapolis. Come in for the famous Nightingale burger or the ginger tamari chicken wings. View their menu or place a takeout order at nightingalempls.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show here on your Thursday, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. I will say that that TikTok story that you're hearing in there, I want to say there is a rumor. I don't think this is a rumor. I think this is exactly what Trump is trying to do. That one of the reasons why they can't find a buyer for it is that Trump is demanding that he has positive, posts about him only, that negative posts about him are not allowed, and positive posts about Democrats are not allowed, and they need to be taken down. And here's apparently the killer, is that for as long as he is in office, so for the next 3.5 years, if they don't do that, he can rescind the sale. And so no one wants to buy it because basically it would be next to impossible to get, not only do something like that. I mean, when you're looking at the amount of posts that are getting posted there, they don't have enough people to review it all. And yeah, people point out something and they might review something, but they're not proactively, you don't submit something and then someone sits there and watches it and said, okay, that's fine, they'll put it up. So all of a sudden, and then what exactly does that mean? If it means I'm wearing a Riding with Biden shirt, does that all of a sudden get, and with a 20-year-old girl doing a dance routine to a clip of music, is that all of a sudden anti-Trump? And so the reason why he can't find anyone to buy it is because the White House is apparently putting terms on this sale, which are making it impossible for anyone to want to do. And so I don't think he does not want to make 100 million Americans mad. And so I agree to a point. I think that there are some people that are speculating that he will just keep putting out extension after extension after extension, and then eventually tell everyone to stop talking about it, and they will. And they'll just kind of let it keep going on its own. Plus, the people that are selling it have the right to ask for a certain price. So 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. So, Patrick, I've got the list of people who are filling in for me while I am gone. Greg is tomorrow and on Monday. Ellie Krug, she's going to be in here on Tuesday. On Tuesday, it's Brett. Brett is on Tuesday. Ellie is on Wednesday, and Bruce Klopfleisch will be filling in Thursday and Friday next week. I will be back the following Monday. As a matter of fact, actually, I'll be back at Pride. I'll be broadcasting at the Pride booth. I believe I'm out there at noon on the 29th. So stop on by the booth. I'll be broadcasting live. I look forward to seeing you out there. Hoo-ah. And then, of course, I'll be back for a live show here on Monday, the 30th. And, of course, heading into the 4th of July, the Independence Day holiday weekend, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Yeah, and one of the reasons why I really need to I got to take some time is because of this whole week. From the Reformer, as the last rays of light gently touched down on the state capitol campus Wednesday evening, Minnesota Orchestra brass players struck up Amazing Grace, and suddenly hundreds of people broke into song, or at least as much as could be expected through tears. They were there to begin saying goodbye to State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, who were gunned down in their Brooklyn Park home early on Saturday because of Melissa Hortman's politics and especially support of abortion rights, says law enforcement. Unlike the fractious and chatty house on which Hortman presided over 5 years, the vigil included no speeches, no politics to speak of. Instead, the vigil featured music that crossed culture and genre, flicker of candlelight in a darkening sky, and a reverential reflection about the gift of life and its finitude, all in a stark contrast to the nation's increasingly toxic political atmosphere. The orchestra performers played a rendition of Make Me a Channel of Your Peace. Hortman, a Roman Catholic, carried around a small prayer card with those words of St. Francis of Assisi on it, her mother said this week. Hortman merely tolerated the spotlight and was not well known for the broader public, but she won fierce devotion from her countless people she mentored, Capitol staff, the Democratic Farm Labor House Caucus she led for more than 8 years, and Republican adversaries too. She was my friend, said Representative Danny Nadro, the Republican who represents the other side of District 34, which Hortman represented for 2 decades. She's an example of what public servants should be. The two worked on human services issues together. The Red Lake Drum Group played prayer song, traveling song, and bear song, the rhythms like a heartbeat for the community in need. Law enforcement officials say Hortman was on a list of targets compiled by the man they say is the killer. State Senator Erin May Quaid, the DFLer from Apple Valley, was also on the list. She said she's spent the last 5 days alternating between states of grief, rage, and numbness. The vigil was helping, though. I feel steadier now, she said, even as Barber's Agio for strings blended soaring hope and crashing despair at the same instant. As they made their way out, many old friends seemed to be catching up as Hortman would have wanted. The lovely tribute over the Capitol last night. I do also, once again, want to make sure I say to John Hoffman and Yvette and your whole family, I'm hoping everything's going well there, guys. I'm hoping you're the healing is there. You're in good medical care. I'm hopeful that you guys will be home soon. I'm very hopeful about that.
Actually is some good breaking news. Yvette Hoffman could be released today, according to Governor Walz.
Okay, good. Thank you. Appreciated that. She was shot 8 times on Saturday morning, and she could be released today. Unbelievable. Still remains a question. What was Bolter's motive and how long he'd been? This is I want to address this. This was from the racket guys. There are still some questions that remain. What was Bolter's motive and how long had he been plotting to attack? Well, I think we kind of know his motive. It was anti-abortion extremism. How long had he been plotting to attack? From everything you see, it sure seems like this was a relatively short ramp up. It wasn't one of those things where it was years and years of journals and stuff like that. Did anyone help him, especially when he's hiding out from police during the manhunt? Now, that is a question I am not. First of all, we can talk about before the shooting. I'm going to guess there were some clear signs that people should have said. The one guy, his one roommate said in one story I saw today that when he decided to give his life over to Christ, he burned all of his possessions. Now, sure, that can sound like hey, isn't it great? He loves Jesus. But on the other side of that coin, that doesn't sound like a mentally stable individual. That, all of a sudden one day you're out back in the backyard making a fire pit of all your stuff. That seems a little bit odd. I feel as if we don't know if, once again, this is all alleged. We pretty much, he's admitted to it. So, but day in court, fine. Did his wife help him? Did his wife know? Do his roommates help him? Did his roommates know? And I'm going to get a little bit here to the guy that with the instantaneous sale at a bus stop. There's still some things about that which I just don't get. There is one question here, though. I do want to make sure I kind of smack down here, if I may. There is some question. Did the Brooklyn Park police sergeant really end up at Hortman's house on a hunch? This was a Blue Sky post. I'm confused and curious about the assassination timeline as anyone, but I'm equally confused about the communication. After Hoffman was shot, how did other departments learn of it? Was it the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, their own cross-department communications? So he had a hunch? I would say, first of all, and we can have a long discussion about this. If a black man is shot in Minneapolis, I don't think that there is a Hennepin County or Metro County APB out on that. That's just I just don't think that's the case. A shooting like this happens in the suburbs, and that goes out pretty quickly. I especially, they know where the politicians live. The police know where the politicians are. That's one of the things. They knew where Speaker Hortman lived. They, by the sound of it, they knew where Ann Rest lived. Very quickly headed over there and scared away Belter there from her house. I feel as if it's, I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty confident that the second this shooting happened, they within 10 to 15 minutes knew it was Senator Hoffman and his wife knew that the shooter was on the run. And so I don't necessarily think, this hunch thing, I think that I honestly feel as if they might not have said everyone head on out to your local politicians' homes. But I don't think it's really that big of a, when you see the violent nature at which, Senator Hoffman and Yvette were shot, I don't think it's really that much of a leap that once that gets out, which it did considering the nature of the crime for sure, that police departments across the metro, and I would bet you in the South Metro even, that, all of a sudden people said, maybe we should head over and check out this person's house, make sure everything's okay. And once again, it's not just Speaker Hortman's house where the police went. They went to Ann Rest's house too, Senator Rest. They went to her house and scared him off. So it's not just one police department doing this. This was clearly something that had gone out, and I'm going to chalk this up just to good police work. And once again, I'm not a police officer, so I don't think like a police officer. I'm going to think that this is how they would think. It's like, okay, we have a politician who has been shot in their house violently. The person's out there just in case this is some sort of political manifesto guy. Let's check the other politicians around. Who do we know? Who's in our district? Okay, you go check their house. You go check their house. You go check their house. I know a few, and I haven't talked to any of them about this per se, but I know a few people who serve more of a friendly term that serve in the Minnesota government. And I have not yet asked if whether or not early in the morning before we got news of Speaker Hortman, if police rolled up to their house. Maybe I'll check that out. But my guess is, like I said, it's when this happened, they know where the politicians live. They know all this stuff. That was, that's the case. Few who served with I also want to talk a little bit about, and maybe I'll take a break here and I'll come on back. But I do want to talk a little bit about the Governor's Workforce Development Board. And once again, the almost reluctance of the news media, whether that's local or national, to get out in front of these clear. By the time we got to 7 p.m. on Saturday, we knew that, and once again, this guy Belter was broken. You don't do what he does and still being tethered to reality. He was broken, but his background was clearly somebody who came from the right wing. His actions alone scream that. An extremist anti-abortion terrorist. That's right wing. But then we found out he's was registered Republican, attended Trump rallies, voted for Trump, was a big fan of his. We know these things, and we knew this early on. So here it is Thursday, and still some news outlets are somewhat trying to address this. I'll come back to that in a second. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Take a break. Come back. Matt McNeil Show.
Hey, it's Tom. There's a war being waged on clean energy. A bill in Congress could eliminate the 30% federal tax credit for solar by the end of 2025. And once it's gone, it may never come back. Fossil fuel giants and their MAGA friends in Washington want to kill green energy. But you can fight back. Going solar with All Energy Solar isn't just smart, it's a form of resistance. You choose where your money goes, not to utility companies, not to fossil fuel billionaires, but toward clean, renewable power for your home. A system from All Energy Solar works in Minnesota year-round because it runs on sunlight, not heat. So even in the dead of winter, you're generating electricity. And All Energy Solar helps you save with every rebate and incentive available. This is the moment to act. Waiting means risking with this tax credit and giving the upper hand to MAGA Republicans. So get your free consultation today at allenergysolar.com and take back your power.
Connections Radio Show is all about tapping into our hardwired hunger to connect. We examine meaningful connections to ourselves, our community, and the world around us. By opening the door to innovative insights by a wide variety of interesting guests, we'll make the connections to something bigger than ourselves. Join me, Lori Fitz, your host of Connections Radio Show, and together we'll make the connections. Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
June is bursting with color, community, and joy, and Coscart is your destination for shopping with pride and purpose. Find pride-themed earrings that support queer causes, hand-poured candles that celebrate identity, and bath teas that nourish your spirit, all while with supporting the makers and mission-driven brands working to build a better world. At Coscart, every item reflects a cause, every brand gives back, and every order helps create the kind of future we want to live in. Biodegradable packaging and carbon offset shipping are standard. And during Pride Month, you get free local delivery in the Twin Cities when you enter pickup at checkout. Now through June 30th, whether you're buying a gift, treating yourself, or just browsing for joy, know that every purchase supports positive action. Celebrate Pride. Shop with purpose. Visit cause-cart.com today for free local delivery in the Twin Cities when you enter pickup at checkout until June 30th. cause-cart.com. Shop what matters to you.
It's finally summer and Pride season. To kick it off, Rainbow Road in Minneapolis has lots of new lines of fresh, fun, and memorable clothes and swimwear. If you want to be lit, you've got to come and see this great new merchandise. Show off some skin at Pride this year. And don't forget to get your rainbow gear before you go out to the 39 Pride festivals all across Minnesota. You'll need 39 new outfits. Get it at The Road, 109 West Grand Street in Minneapolis near Loring Park.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. So let's talk a little bit about the Governor's Workforce Development Board. And once again, the almost stunning reluctance of some of the news media to address what was clearly known on Saturday night, which is that although detached from reality, if you're looking at his background, Belter had extremist far-right religious, anti-abortion, and he was a registered Republican, and he voted for Trump. And we talked about this yesterday in the sense being that there clearly is this element of the MAGA right that just does not ever want them to. It's the same thing I mentioned with Juneteenth. They just don't ever have to want to mention that they could possibly be wrong. And so part of that, and once again, this is not organic. This is paid and distributed. Their communications on the far right are as evil. They are insanely well orchestrated. The goal is there are people out there that when stuff like this happens, their job is to immediately make up lies that say it's all the Democrats' fault. To a point where, once again, there was a lot of people who were saying a Democrat did this to a Democrat, so it's good. Insanity. But this is, if you are so desperate to never have to admit reality, then it leads you to say things which are abhorrent. Few who served in the this is from MinPost, and I'm going to get through this here. Few who served on the governor's workforce development board with Vance Belter have much memory of the man accused of assassinating Melissa Hortman and her husband and shooting Senator John Hoffman and his wife. I think I remember one time breaking out into a small group with Belter, said Carol Anderson, co-owner of Anderson Dairy Farms. But I can't tell you what we talked about because I don't remember. I mean, to me, the guy was just an average guy, right? There was nothing unusual about him, and there's nothing memorable, I guess, about him. I don't recall a single thing about him, said Republican State Senator Carla Nelson from Rochester. I have been interacted once or twice with Belter, but otherwise did not know him, said Steve Kalina, president and CEO of Minnesota Precision Manufacturing Association. I mean, I'm sorry, man. I wish I could remember this guy, said Robert Blake, the CEO and founder of Solar Bear Solar Installation Services. MinPost spoke to 8 current or former members of the Governor's Workforce Development Board to get their accounts of the board's work and how members are chosen, its relationship with the governor or any politicians, and how Belter fit into the picture. The quotes from above were from members who served on the roughly 60-person board with Belter in 2019. Now, I was part of a very loosely put together group of people at the Capitol. We met in the Capitol. This was back when there was a thought of maybe Minnesota trying to get an Olympics games. And I was interested. This was back when I'd first moved back. So this was in the first decade of the 2000s. And there were a lot of people there, including some of the people with at this point, I don't think that they had approved the new Twin Stadium, the new Gopher Stadium, the new Viking Stadium. And so there are people there from their groups who are like, if we do this, we need to make sure that they're the stadiums that are compliant with what we need, stuff like this. And, so there was an interest. I don't want to say an interest for the Olympics, but it's just an interest to make sure that if there was something like that going to come through, that there was a thought process of applying any facilities to existing teams if we needed them. It was a ragtag, and I do mean a ragtag group of people that were serving on this group, from business leaders. I mean, like I said, representatives from some of the major sports teams in town were there. I remember, and I still am friends with one woman who was on that board with me, and she is the franchisee for, I think, 4 or 5 of a chain of restaurants in town. I won't say which ones, but she and I got to chatting, and we've stayed friends ever since. But there was also people who clearly were, I couldn't tell you any of their names. I couldn't tell you anything about them. They were clearly brought in by somebody. And there was a lot of people that were back then that were fantasizing about the idea of being up on the stage with Yoko, that sort of thing. Like we did it. And one of the things I kept trying to push to people is that if we are part of this organization group, we're not going to be up on the stage. We're going to be taking some Hungarian pole vaulter who's got stomach bug to the medical tent. We're going to be emptying trash cans. That's kind of what you need to do. Is that's if you're in here because you think at some point that the head of the Olympic Committee is going to shake your hand and stare into the camera as the fireworks go off above your head, you're a fool. That's just not going to happen. These things are pieced together. I want to remind people that was during a Republican administration. I was part of that group. I volunteered. They said, okay, we'll have you come on. There's the meeting room. I think we met 3 times, and then it became clear that there wasn't really any, it was more of just a discussion as opposed to anything else. Like I said, I know one person from that committee meeting. I remember the fact that there were some representatives from some of the teams there. I couldn't point them out if my life depended on it. And then anyone else in that meeting room, I have no idea. But if someone was to suggest to me that, Tim Pawlenty's best BFF, Matt McNeil, was supported, Pawlenty would laugh and I would laugh, because that's just not true. But that's what these boards are like. And what you're hearing being described is exactly that. Why focus on a board that few Minnesotans likely never knew existed before this weekend? Because despite Belter's relatively unmemorable time as a volunteer appointee, online commenters have pointed to the board in an attempt to explain the murder suspect's politics and potential motive in the days following the targeted attacks against DFL politicians. While it's true that Belter was appointed during both the Dayton administration in 2016 and reappointed during Walz administration in 2019, both DFL governors, the board is nonpartisan. Same thing with my board. My board, I don't know the politics of anybody that was on that board. The governor's office is responsible for putting thousands of volunteers of all parties on a range of boards and commissions, according to the email from Walz's office. These unpaid, nonpartisan external boards are created by the legislature and serve only as advisory bodies, the office confirmed. Now, you've got Van Holten, over in Wisconsin, who's acting as if Governor Walz was like Potter going through the people of town to determine who is going to go serve in the military and approving each individual thing. That's far from the case. And once again, Van Holter, over the Republican representative, Derek Van Holter over there, he is basically one of the still guys out there still pushing this idea that somehow this was a Democrat and it was Walz's best buddy that did this. That's just disgusting. But if you know anything about that guy, disgusting is basically that man's middle name. The nonpartisan nature of the board didn't stop people online from using it as a reason to falsely tie Belter to Democratic leanings. This fueled a confrontation Monday between Democratic Senator Tina Smith, a friend of Hortman's, and Republican Senator Mike Lee of Utah, after Lee posted that he believed Hortman was killed because of Marxist, blaming it on the left and Walz. The posts have since been deleted. I'll tell you what, I'll take a break, come back with this, a point about Min Post, but also some other things about what happened. We'll cover that news and also one or two other things as well. It is the Matt McNeil Show here on your Thursday.
Hey, it's Jennifer from AM 950. I'm 57, and lately I've definitely been feeling it. Lower back pain, hip aches, brain fog, and serious lack of energy. That's when I decided to try Hypercharge Wellness, and I'm so glad I did. At Hypercharge Wellness, they focus on proactive wellness and medication-free solutions to help you feel better and live healthier. Their FDA-approved light therapy helped reduce my chronic pain and inflammation, and the results have been nothing short of life-changing. My back pain and stiffness are improving, and I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. They also offer laser therapy that targets muscles and joints, perfect for injury recovery and pain management. Whether you're dealing with fatigue, chronic pain, or mental fog, Hypercharge Wellness has treatments designed just for you to boost energy, improve clarity, and reduce inflammation. Take control of your health and wellness today with their $49.99 introductory session and consultation at any of their 3 locations. Visit hyperchargeclinic.com for more information.
Hey there, friends. There's a fantastic invitation for you this Juneteenth. Join Minuteman Press Uptown on June 19th for a special open house celebration. MP Uptown is the largest Black-owned print shop in Minnesota, and they're the only BIPOC union printer in the Midwest. We use them at AM 950 for our printing because MP Uptown isn't just a printer, they're on a mission. Frank Brown and his team puts their values into action every day, helping nonprofits and our local Twin City small businesses. We're excited for their open house on June 19th. This is a rare chance to go behind the scenes to see their all-digital facility and how they bring ideas to life. Plus, they're going to have some big prize giveaways, refreshments, and we'll share about their community initiatives. There's going to be something for everyone. So don't miss out. Save the date for June 19th at 4024 Washington Avenue North in Minneapolis. Again, that's 4024 Washington Avenue North in Minneapolis. Let's celebrate Juneteenth together at Minuteman Press Uptown.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Rest. June is here, which means you might be having a graduation party at your house soon. Summer also means sleepovers. Your kids are going to be at the playground, at the water park, at the beach. There's going to be a lot of mess coming into the house over the summer, and you need to call my cleaning heroes at Zero Rest to make sure your home is in order for the summer. And since June is here, it's time to take advantage of Zero Rest's best deal of the summer. Zero Rest can take care of any surface in your home or business, including carpet, tile, hardwood, rugs, upholstery, and air ducts. This month, take 20% off all services when you call my friends at Zero Res 9520 Res or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com. Just tell them you want the AM 950 special. Their prompt, courteous team will come out and take care of you. Again, that's 20% off all services this month. Go to ZeroResMinnesota.com or call 9520-RES and ask for the AM 950 special. Zero Res, backward or forward, spells the same. With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Showers and thunderstorms tonight with a low of 68, then Friday sunshine with a high of 87. Nightingale is your cozy, comfortable neighborhood bar and restaurant at 26th and Lyndale in Minneapolis. Come in for the famous Nightingale burger or the ginger tamari chicken wings. View their menu or place a takeout order at nightingalempls.com.
It is the Matt McNeil Show on your Thursday. Thanks for being here today. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. Going back to the story from MinnPost, it was far from the only case where right-wing voices claimed online that Belter supported Democrats. White-ringer YouTuber Benny Johnson called Belter a left-wing Tim Walz appointee, Star Tribune pointed out earlier this week, and a slew of people took to social media amplifying the misinformation. Nelson, a Republican senator who has served multiple terms in the workforce board, said she is not a huge Twitter consumer and tried to stay off the social media platform following the weekend shooting. She said any violence should be condemned. It's irrelevant what this political persuasion is or was in this, or isn't, she said. I don't know, and I don't really want to know. People are barking up the wrong tree if that's what they're thinking about. We ought to be thinking about the survivors in the Hoffman family. The Larry Jacobs, a professor at the University of Minnesota Humphrey School of Public Affairs, immediately you saw conservative podcasts, social media seizing on unfiltered positions, using the Workforce Commission as confirmation he was actually a loyal Democrat. It has since come out that he's actually conservative. Papers found in Belter's vehicle included the names of Democratic lawmakers, abortion rights advocates. The Star Tribune reported the data released by the Minnesota DFL show Bolter voted in the presidential primary election, but not as a Democrat. The Minnesota Republican Party did not release the data, with the spokesperson saying the party considers that data to be private under current law. The Associated Press also reported earlier this week that those close to Belter said he was highly religious and conservative and he attended rallies for Trump. But this didn't quell the online speculation, and many will not see or believe the facts that emerged after false claims were made, Jacob said. In his long career studying public opinion, the professor and researcher said people's ability and willingness to proceed and critically think about information presented to them has shifted. It wasn't that long ago that where you had fact-checking in which politicians said false things would be called out, and even sometimes they would apologize or issue corrections. Those days are just a memory. Absolutely. I mean, it really was pretty remarkable that Tina Smith got Mike Lee to bring down those tweets. This happens when people find a kernel of information or news breaks. Jacob said people are going to take it and then spin it to a yarn they want it to out of it. This sort of twisting of narrative isn't exclusively occurring on the right, Jacobs noted. This is a product of the same phenomenon, Jacob said. Following an attempted assassination, evidence continued to emerge. We have FBI reports. We've got local television. We've got local law enforcement. We've got an individual who's killed at the site. Once the narrative has been spun, it's hard to unspin it in the minds of those consuming information. I appreciate MinnPost finally covering this and tearing this down. I will say it took you long enough because, yes, it is. The job of the media is to basically report the news and what's truthful and what's factual. And the problem is you guys, controlled by the account managers in your offices, now have to look at, so, well, if we report it too quickly, we might lose some Republicans. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case with MinnPost per se, but that's what you see with a lot of media in this country. And take a look at the Washington Post, take a look at the LA Times. You can look at any of them. We don't want to upset Republicans. That's not news. Now you're becoming an opinion piece. The journalists of yore would have immediately jumped on this stuff to shut it down and would have been very vocal. And I get it. You're fighting an uphill fight now with social media pages where you have people with 1 million followers basically willing to lie with no consequences. That's just what you get. But, the fact that it took you till Thursday to put this story out, and then as well, most of the condemnation for the fake lies fell well below, once again, your discussion about the workforce committee. And the most important part of this story wasn't the diffusing of the lies, but basically pointing out, well, this workforce committee is just basically no one seemed to know it. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, it's not a Michael Kitchener novel. You don't have to have a surprise ending. Oh, by the way, it's all been a lie. No, you can lead with it's a lie. That can be the top of the fold. One of the reasons why these lies were able to gain traction was because even when faced with undeniable reality that this guy wasn't who they were saying they were, a lot of the news media said, oh, well, let's check the sales department first. Now, I'm not saying that about anyone specific. I'm just saying that is definitively what there was an insane hesitation to correct this. And the fact that it took till Tuesday for most of the news media to finally say, okay, yeah, this stuff about him being a Democrat's not true. Well, in this day and age with instantaneous technology, that's a millennia. So I appreciate the story. I do have some questions why it took you till Thursday to put it out. And I also have some questions on why the focus wasn't on the fact that, these right-wing, social media accounts have been lying, as long with, guys like Mike Lee and stuff, as opposed to, here's a bunch of people that were on the board and they don't remember anything about it. As conspiracy theories continue to circulate online about Governor Walz's connection to the man accused of shooting 2 lawmakers, former Governor Tim Pawlenty is speaking out to set the record straight. Walz did reappoint Belter to the state board. However, Belter was initially appointed under Governor Mark Dayton. Pawlenty, a Republican, said it is misleading to suggest that Walz had a personal or political connection to Belter through the appointment. It pains me to see so many people grabbing little things and twisting them into conspiracies, Pawlenty said in an interview with KARE 11. Pawlenty noted that Minnesota has more than 100 state boards and commissions, most of which are volunteer-based and low profile, with more than 1,000 appointees. He said the governor typically does not personally vet or know each member. Most of them are advisory and volunteer, low profile. They get some screenings by the governor's office, but not a ton. Most of the people who serve come from all walks of life across the state, and the governor in most instances would not necessarily know those individuals. And maybe part of the problem is the modern MAGA mentality, which is not Pawlenty. He was kind of pre-MAGA. I mean, he was starting to get out there, but he's not MAGA. The modern MAGA mentality you see playing out in DC right now, which is anyone that can be fired needs to get fired, and the only people that are put in their place are loyalists to Trump. And so maybe that's their mentality, is they're saying, well, he had a board. Well, if I was on the board, I would have weeded out any Democrat or independent. And unless they agreed with me politically, they wouldn't be on that board. And that is a misunderstanding what the makeup of the board is and the intention on the board is, but as well, also, like I said, it's when you look at what Pawlenty said, 1,000 people. Who's going to do all that work to basically screen everyone and call everyone and say, is your political affiliation perfect? We'll get rid of them. And then you have to find new people to be on the board. And is your whole thing, you've got to be pro-MAGA. Well, good luck. You're not going to have any boards. So, yeah, this whole thing, the fact that here it is a Thursday and I'm still having to talk about this. Exactly. You wonder why I need a vacation. A car abandoned along the side of the road in rural Sibley County led SWAT teams to a Green Isle farm field where Vance Bolter surrendered Sunday night. According to court filings, Belter paid $900 for the Buick sedan and an e-bike while on the run that authorities believe was part of a getaway scheme. According to federal court filings, after allegedly shooting 2 Minnesota DFL lawmakers and their spouses, Belter paid a man he had never met $900 to purchase a Buick and an e-bike. Belter was forced to flee the home of Speaker Melissa Hortman when he encountered Brooklyn Park Police at the front door early Saturday morning at 3:30 a.m. At that point, Belter left behind his replica police SUV and flashing lights and the arsenal of weaponry he allegedly stockpiled in the vehicle. Belter initially made it out of the 3 to 4 mile lockdown perimeter around Hortman's Edinburgh golf course home. That, by the way, does seem like it did take it, and I don't know the ins and out of this. It does seem to have taken a while to get that perimeter set up. And so I don't think it's too much of a surprise he was able to get out of there, because once he lost the vehicle, you could tell that at that point from his actions, everything was about getting out of the city. And so he started heading back to the place down on Fremont. Prosecutors say around 7 a.m., Belter met up with an unidentified man at a bus stop in North Minneapolis. It is alleged the pair then boarded a bus to the man's home, where they apparently got into the Buick and drove it to a bank in Robbinsdale. That is where Belter was captured on security camera wearing a cowboy hat, and where court documents reveal he drained his bank account of $2,200, paying $900 to the man for the e-bike and the car. One of the, I think this is the Brooklyn Park Police Chief, Burley, described the moment later Saturday when investigators needed to develop new leads in the hunt for Belter after he escaped capture for hours. That night, a radio bulletin dispatched for law enforcement in South Dakota to be on the lookout for a Twin Cities man as a potential person of interest in the Minnesota murders that day. The investigators did not identify the individual at the time. He was registered owner of a black Buick sedan. And that, I remember that came out. So yeah, that was clearly they had pieced back together that he had gotten that sedan. Burley would not comment on how law enforcement made that connection. By early Sunday morning, Belter had abandoned the car near his rural Sibley County home. According to prosecutors, authorities said there was reports of an individual riding an e-bike around the area within 2 miles of Belter's home. Burley knew that they were closing in. I think we had to make the world so small that it was the last place he probably had some resources hidden that he could get. He was kind of a prepper, and I think he thought that there were some resources, money, maybe a go bag, guns. Who knows what he could get from location if he could sneak back in there. I agree wholeheartedly with that. He was trying to get back to the house because he wanted to get something out of the house. And so his plan was to take a vehicle, which he didn't think was going to be identified, drive it down there, get on the e-bike, maybe bike past the house to see what kind of police presence there was, and then basically try to find a way to sneak in. That's what it seems like. Okay, let's go back to this. Now, first of all, I want to bring up one of the things here. It's like, you bought a bike and a Buick for $900. I'm going to presume it wasn't a top of the line Buick. It didn't look like it, at least on the images that were released on the county road it was found down in Green Isle. But even so, my wife and I have thought about buying an e-bike. They're not cheap. Even a used one is $1,000 or so. It's 700, maybe $700 to $1,000. So the Buick cost you $200? There's a lot that I just don't understand here. And my guess is going to be, in regards to how they've identified Belter, is they figured out probably through either DNA or fingerprints from the Hortman house that who he was. Figured out he had the ATM withdrawal. Saw him on the cameras. That's where they got that image of him in the cowboy hat. They then must have scoured any camera around that ATM to see what vehicle he was in. And maybe via that, they were able to track down the guy that they sold the vehicle to him. But once again, I feel as if someone either helped him or was aware of what's going on. And this whole thing with the e-bike and the Buick kind of stinks. That somebody that you never met before just out of the blue, 7 a.m. on a Saturday. You're going to meet them and just say, hey, I'll get the car and this. And don't get me wrong, I guess, Facebook Marketplace or whatever the thing, wherever he went for this, eBay or whatever. He goes out there and he does this and he finds it. Maybe the guy is interested in selling it and just do that quick, but there's a lot there that I still have not been able to wrap my head around. And yeah, I'm a little more than confused about. So, I don't know who could have helped him. Well, obviously his wife, once again, found with passports, $10,000 cash. And apparently it was 2 guns in the car. Now, the question I had was the other gun hidden? Because reminder, when they pulled her over in, was it Onamia? It's up that way. When they pulled her over at the gas station, because they used GPS to track her down on her cell phone. When they did that, they said they found a gun in the car. That was actually the charge that the reason for arresting her. It sounded like she said there wasn't a gun in the vehicle, and there was. Henceforth, they made the arrest. But now we found that apparently there was a second gun in the car. I wonder if when they did a more thorough search, was there a gun that was hidden in the car? Because it sounds like that's kind of what this whole family was like. He's got prepper rooms. They had cash lying around. Were they anticipating the zombie apocalypse sort of thing coming out and had to run? Or here's the more heinous thing is, one of the things I have freely admitted is it does not sound like this guy had a lot of ramp up time to his plan to basically do this. It sounds like it was something that happened within the last few months. Maybe I am way off base on this. And maybe this is something that's been years in the works. And they basically wanted to go to war with somebody. I don't know. Like I said, though, some people there must have been some, at least warning signs of something, if not something else. And the fact that, a reminder too, Belter's text messages that morning, one of the first things I said when we were talking about this on Monday is that it feels like those text messages are not necessarily honest, that they're more about laying cover so people can use that as a defense in their own court cases. At least that's the way I kind of read them. I don't know. He'll get his day in court. We'll see how that goes. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. We'll take a break. Come on back. One more segment when we do return. It is the Matt McNeil Show on Thursday. Rudy Luther Toyota has a great way for you to purchase your next vehicle. It's the Toyota Smart Path. You can shop at the dealership or on your couch. Shop smarter by saving time, and remember, they'll have the best prices and no surprises. You can browse the available vehicles, use the Smart Path payment estimator to customize your own payments, apply for financing, and then finalize your purchase. Smart Path is the smartest path to your new vehicle. Check it out online at rudyluthertoyota.com or stop by Rudy Luther Toyota, 5 miles west of Minneapolis on 394.
Get ready for a full weekend of celebration, connection, and community at Twin Cities Pride 2025, happening June 28th and 29th at Loring Park. This is the nation's largest free Pride festival with 3 stages of beer entertainment, over 650 vendors, 4 food courts, and 2 beer gardens. Check out the new Artist Gallery, the expanded Youth Hideaway, and the powerful History Pavilion featuring the Jean Nicholas Treader Collection. And while you're at Pride, come see us at AM 950. We're broadcasting live Saturday and Sunday from booths 407 and 408 at the Yale Place Willow Street entrance near the beer garden. Stop by, take a seat, and listen to your favorite LGBTQ plus shows like The Gaily Show, The Illegal Trans Woman with Ellie Krug, and The Downright Upright Show with Philip Anthony. We'll also have live broadcasts from Matt McNeil, Ghost Box Radio with Greg Bakken, Feels Out Loud, Redefining Recovery, and more of our great weekend programming. Plus, we've got AM 950 themed Pride swag. Pick up bandanas, stickers, tote bags, and meet your favorite hosts. Whether you're a longtime listener or just discovering us, we'd love to meet you at Pride June 28th and 29th.
Is your teen or young adult withdrawing, experiencing anxiety, or depressive thoughts? They may need a larger team to care for them. That's where Hazelden Betty Ford comes in. Our team of experts help guide with proven mental health and substance use support. You can trust Minnesota's #1 teen treatment center to help your child thrive. Turn to WeGotYou.org to learn more. Hazelden Betty Ford. We Got You. Sponsored by Hazelden Betty Ford Foundation and aired by the Minnesota Broadcasters Association and this station.
It's time to experience the amazing flavors of eatlocalminnesota.com. It's your key to unlocking the best local and independently owned restaurants in the Twin Cities.
Nightingale off 26th and Lindale is where good times and great flavors unite. Chef Carrie keeps it fresh with seasonal dishes, or savor classics like the Nightingale burger, steak tartare, and irresistible chocolate pot de crème. Explore tasty vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free options, and enjoy craft cocktails, curated wines, and half-price wine bottles every Monday. Open daily 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. More at nightingalempls.com. Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville sets the bar when it comes to roast beef sandwiches. But let's not forget their other mouthwatering offerings, from Philly steak to turkey bacon avocado, BLT, crispy chicken, fish, brisket, and pulled pork. The menu is a flavor-packed delight. Don't miss out on their delicious variety. Explore the full menu at mavericksbeef.com. Your taste buds will thank you.
AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, the Matt McNeil Show. So yesterday, I did the story about in Detroit Lakes where, and just for God's sakes, grow up. The new flag is hurting me. The new flag hurts me. Ooh. And so they decided to not even fly the state flag in Detroit Lakes as some sort of, we're showing them. I will tell you what, I posted that story. I've had at least 10 people comment on these stories on all the social media pages I have that, okay, I've been going up there for fishing. I'm not going there anymore. I'll go someplace else. So Detroit Lakes, you want to be stupid? Grow up. Look at them and say, it's the state flag. You don't like it. Go get the governor's office. Go get the House and the Senate and then change it back. But until that time, it's the state of Minnesota. We're flying the flag. And if they go out there and try to vandalize the flag, well, then arrest them for vandalism. But, I mean, it is amazing to me that Detroit Lakes City Council just didn't look at them and say, just grow the F up, you whelps. Seriously. Things are going to get bad out there. And that's why I point out, it's like, in this day and age, especially you're in a place like Detroit Lakes, and you're losing your Canadian tourist dollar that was coming down across the border. I mean, from the story I read yesterday, half of Detroit Lakes doesn't want Twin Cities people to come up there by the sounds of it. We want those liberals stay down there. Well, that's the easiest thing for us to do. It's like, okay, fine. Avoiding Detroit Lakes is pretty darn easy, so all my best up there. You might not want to do that if you are a touristy area. You might want to try your best to try to hold on to what you can, because there is some bad times coming. Not only for the tourist industry with Canada not coming down here and, obviously places there, but the Trump tariffs. I'm going to make this observation. This morning I went to the grocery store. I usually grocery shop on Thursday. I am starting to see, it's not like it was in, April, May of 2020, but the grocery store is looking more and more like early 2021, where you'd go in there and there would be, most of the shelves were somewhat full, but there were starting to get some large gaps on the shelf space. And that's what I noticed today. And I've been noticing it kind of getting progressively worse, that at my grocery store, there seems to be, I'm not saying it's, no one has to run on out there and start getting basic essentials, but I mean, it definitely does seem like this tariff thing might be taking an impact. A longtime family-owned children's shoe store in Rochester is preparing to close its doors. Schmidt's Stride Right, a Stride Right? Wow. Has operated in the Med City for more than 40 years. Owner Terry Pickett reports its closing date will be set in the coming weeks. It's a passion. I deal with a lot of kids with special needs who have braces. We have orthotics. I don't know what they're going to do, Pickett said. He cited the increase in product cost as the main reason for the decision. The tariffs really just started to impact because our children's shoes are made overseas, and I also have a budget on what I can pay for it, and I just couldn't do it anymore, Pickett said. After the announcement on Facebook, the community has swarmed the shop to support, unsure of what's next. This decision wasn't made lightly, wrote Pickett in a statement. It was made with a lot of intention and appreciation for the decades of good memories and the relationships we formed. All my best to you. I can understand these tough times. But I will say this. This is, think about this. Not only is this store closing, so there's less options in Rochester, but it's a store that apparently cater to a very specific clientele, and now they don't have that. I think we need to buckle up. Now, buckle up indeed. Bakken in tomorrow, Bakken in on Monday. Brett is in on Tuesday. We got Ellie Krug in. She's going to be in on Wednesday. Bruce Klopfleisch in on Thursday, Friday. I am taking a vacation. I'll be back on at Pride Festival at noon. I'll see you out there. Native Roots Radio is up next. Talk to you later. Until then,
For
see
the
ya.
best and biggest fireworks selection, there was only